Think you know Thanos, the big purple guy who snapped half the universe out of existence? Forget the CGI and the Infinity Stones for a second, because Thanos, or at least the idea behind him, has been living in humanity's mind for thousands of years before Marvel ever showed up. The Norse called it Ragnarok, a battle Odin knew would wipe out everything, making way for a brand new world. In the Bible, it was the Great Flood, a global reset so humanity could start over, cleaner and purer. The Maya left behind the long count calendar, ticking down to the end of the current cycle, like reaching the final boss in a game and having to hit new game. Different cultures, same formula. Destroy it all to save what's left. Thanos? He's just the 4K high-tech edition of that ancient Doomsday obsession we've carried for millennia. And if those old stories were true, maybe he's not the villain at all. Maybe he's just the one guy willing to play by the blueprint humanity unknowingly wrote for itself a long, long time ago. Thanos never thought of himself as the villain. If you could see through his golden eyes, you'd find a cold, unshakable conviction. Someone has to do this, and only I have the courage to follow through. In his mind, the universe is an overloaded ship in the middle of the ocean. Everyone on deck is still laughing, drinking, and celebrating, but he can see the water leaking into the hull. And when the ship starts to sink, he will be the one to push people overboard, not out of hatred, but because he believes it's the only way the rest can survive. History has seen many Thanoses before. In the 18th century, Thomas Malthus saw populations growing faster than food could be produced and believed famine was inevitable unless the number of mouths to feed was reduced. In ancient China, records say Emperor Shun abandoned faraway regions during a drought to save the central lands. The logic is always the same. To save, you must cut away. Science today calls it overshoot and collapse. When humans consume beyond what nature can replenish, and nature strikes back with plague, famine, or climate upheaval. Thanos was different only in method. He wanted to do it faster, cleaner, and saw himself as the cosmic surgeon. When Gamora asked, "You'd kill half the universe?" he answered, "Random, impartial, rich and poor alike, fair." It sounds like justice, but it's the same creed that countless doomsday cults have embraced, that indiscriminate destruction is the will of the divine. And maybe the only thing stopping most of us from becoming Thanos is that we've never had the power to try. Before writing existed, humanity stored its memories in the dark and in firelight. Around the embers, they told stories of worlds that died and came back. Though no one had truly witnessed it, everyone believed it was real. These tales weren't just bedtime stories. They were warnings that this world had ended before, and could end again. In the far reaches of the Pacific, on the island of Mangareva, elders spoke of Tauhaki, a man who climbed into the clouds carrying the fire of lightning. When humans cut down forests, hunted every animal, and forgot to give thanks to the earth and sky, the heavens grew angry. Tauhaki hurled lightning that burned away most of humanity. That fire destroyed, but also cleansed, allowing green life to return. He didn't wipe out everyone. He spared a small group to rebuild. A primitive form of population control. In India, priests told of Pralaya, a moment when fire and floods swallowed the universe. No god could save it, only absolute darkness remained. But from that darkness came a single seed, the promise of a clean, new world. Villagers along the Ganges say Pralaya isn't a scare story. It's a real cycle, too long for any one lifetime to see repeat. In North America, the Hopi people believe the world has already died 3 times, once from war, once from forgetting to pray, and once from greed that drained the waters in the light. Each time, only a small group was led through a stone passage into the next world. The pattern always repeats: judgment, reduction, cleansing, and renewal. They say we're in the 4th world now. If we repeat the same mistakes, the door will close, and a new order will begin with destruction.
4 elements appear again and again: the judgment of a higher power, the cutting down of the population to save the rest, a total cleansing, and a promise of rebirth. These weren't just plot devices, they were the language of warnings. In pre-scientific societies, without climate data or ecological theory, our ancestors used such stories as mental frameworks. Anyone hearing them understood that breaking the balance would bring down a decisive hand. And when you look at Thanos, it's hard not to see him as the modern version of those ancient blueprints. No lightning, no floods, just a single snap of his fingers, perfectly replaying the cycle told for millennia. The only difference? Instead of being passed down by firelight, his story spread across the multiverse to billions of glowing screens. In the old legends, the gods used seas of fire, great floods, or thunderbolts to wipe the slate clean. Thanos chose something colder: technology and mathematics. One snap of his fingers, a moment of silence, half the universe gone. No chaos, no blood, just a calculation executed with ruthless precision. His belief is simple, yet chilling. The universe is finite. Population growth is not. Without forced reduction, collapse is inevitable. And when it comes, the death toll will be far worse. To him, the question isn't, should it be done, but when should it be done, and how can it be as quick and clean as possible? The danger lies in how his logic hooks into a very real fear. Climate change is melting ice caps and raising sea levels. Resources from forests, oceans, and farmland are being pushed to the brink. Cities swell endlessly, swallowing land and choking the air. Every day, the news reminds us of wildfires, floods, and food shortages. Faced with these scenarios, the idea of cutting down to save the rest can start to sound reasonable. Some even see it as a bitter pill, necessary in the same way Thanos saw himself. History has seen humanity choose similarly ruthless solutions, sealing city gates and abandoning those outside during plagues, destroying water supplies or crops to starve invading armies. Thanos simply scaled those choices up to a cosmic level and carried them out with a terrifying cleanliness. No blood, no screams, just a snap, and it's as if they never existed. When destruction wears the face of a perfect equation, it stops looking like a crime, and his reasoning becomes so logical that he stands as one of the most unforgettable villains of the modern age. There's something strange about apocalypse stories. Even though they were born thousands of years ago, they still linger stubbornly in our imagination. They seep into movies, novels, video games, and even casual conversations. And every time we hear about a reset or a cleansing, we respond with two opposite emotions: a shiver of fear and a pull we can't quite explain. Psychologists call this the effect of collective memory, a vault of images, stories, and symbols we inherit from our ancestors, even if we've never lived through them. Legends of judgment, reduction, purification, and rebirth have imprinted themselves into humanity's subconscious as a template for how to face total crisis. Even in today's world of science and technology, our brains still react to global threats by longing for a fresh start, just like our ancestors once imagined after the Great Flood or the fire at the end of days. It's not hard to spot this motif in pop culture. From films like The Day After Tomorrow and Snowpiercer to post-apocalyptic video games, they all tell the same story. The old world is broken, and only a complete reset can save what's left. And audiences, even knowing the brutality of the premise, keep watching. Deep down, they want to witness that moment when everything is made new, no matter the cost. This is why Thanos sparks more debate than any other Marvel villain. He isn't the type who craves domination or revenge. He taps into a deep nerve in our collective psyche, the belief that a painful cleansing might be necessary. When we see Earth facing climate change, resource scarcity, and uncontrolled population growth, some can't help but wonder, if someone could truly hit the reset button, would I oppose it? Picture yourself standing before a control panel with one single red button. Press it, and half of all life disappears, saving the rest. Don't press it, and everything dies slowly in chaos and struggle. Logic says you can't do it, but survival instinct whispers, better half than all. And once the idea of a final solution takes root in the mind, it lies dormant, waiting for the moment of greatest desperation. Ancient apocalypse myths planted the seed, modern culture watered it, and then a character like Thanos only had to appear for that seed to burst open, growing in the imagination of millions. Looking back at the whole tale, we realize Thanos isn't just a villain built for entertainment. He's a mirror reflecting an ancient fear, the fear that our world has gone too far and needs a hand brave enough to reset everything. From myths told around fire pits to blockbuster movies, that idea has never disappeared. It simply changed shape, from the raging seas and divine lightning of legend to the cold, precise snap of our technological age. These stories have evolved alongside us, adapting to every new fear: climate change, overpopulation, resource collapse. Every generation has its own end-of-the-world version, yet their core remains the same: judgment, cleansing, and rebirth. Perhaps that's why we fear them and are drawn to them at the same time, as if deep down we want to believe a new beginning is always possible, no matter how high the cost. So the real question is, are we unconsciously replaying these apocalyptic tales over and over, simply because our anxiety about the future never truly leaves us. And if that's the case, are we learning from them or just repeating the same mistakes dressed in new clothes? Maybe it's time for each of us to look inward and ask, where does my deepest fear of global destruction come from? From the collective memory of my ancestors, from the culture I was raised in, or from the headlines I see every day? Because only by understanding the roots of that fear can we choose how to respond when the true moment of decision arrives. If you want to keep unraveling the ancient myths that planted the seeds for today's doomsday scenarios and understand why they still haunt us, watch the next video. Because the story of Thanos is just one small chapter in the apocalypse our species has been writing for millennia.